I've been drinking strong, I've been thinking wrong. Yeah, hop into my zone, put the scissor home. Nah, please set up my phone, I ain't staying long. Flexing on you fakes, I ain't bend a bone. Coldest culture, fuck with the code of honor. They be faking and making it rain with the stolen thunder. Some of y'all be dealing with snow, kick up your nose. Ironic that the sickest to win is developing cold. But motherfuck you waste mans. They skin pillin', pit pillin', cultural spray can. Drinking Henny, pretending it brings enjoyment when y'all ain't even never comfortable in your own sin. I don't need rap to double the stacks. In front of the class, divided in dividends, fuck up the math. Look at the bag, 70 racks independent of cash. Call up the deputy, yelling got equity, don't give a fuck about cash. Don't got a many, but do them a mag. They send it a look at the past. Fuck all these labels, they crash, smoke up and do me relax. And put the phone down, put the phone down. Attention has no bounds, remember what's going round. My enemies go down, vengeance is profound. Lost your professionalism, oh wow. Fuck the deputy of all time, I'ma never leave the old house. Unapologetic, if you diabetic, I'm swinging every hole. Y'all been ducking, I've been dealing. Couldn't get a fuck about your neighbors. Y'all got stuck and now you blame it. Couldn't get enough from all those favors, huh? Ducking, diving payments. Couldn't get a bundle, so you're saving up for the stage you bet in the game. So you can't save this shit or control your life. Sensitive, privilege, bitches developing fearless. Had to get cancer to see all the benefits. Pulled out your debit and realized the zeros was too much to settle. So you switching parties like Copo invaded it. I still be protesting the brutality that my brothers is facing. Hey, y'all some faking bitches, fuck your favorite dishes. If it ain't got healthy, then I take the exit. Big bets, big change. Feel the spectrum of emotion in a range. I'm in my bag, I don't need rap to double the stacks. Front of the class, divided in dividends, fuck up the math. Look at the bag, 70 racks independent of cash. Call up the deputy, yelling got equity, don't give a fuck about cash. I'm in my bag, I don't need rap to double the stacks. Front of the class, divided in dividends, fuck up the math. Look at the bag, 70 racks independent of cash. Call up the deputy, yelling got equity, don't give a fuck about cash. Tell me why they say they stay, then they always go. Cause I don't want no one beside me when I'm riding home. That driver's cold got me turning heel, I can't find my soul. Got a sold out arena of thoughts inside my dome, and I cannot supply the show. It's been a minute, but I still get it. When you behind my bars, I know that you still fit a sentence, but I never listen or level say anything. So when you mention it, where there is, know that I'm your enemy. I am a hypocrite living, a bit of the ignorance missed. The imminent hurt, fuck it, put him in the dirt, it's a better way to deal with. It's turning me cynical, burning the medical, I feed my ego. Claim that I don't need to go, but really I feel like Vegeta. I need a bomber, someone would drive beyond the Taurus. My mind like Yoba, multiple voices trying to control you. I rolled the dice, found myself a material vice. Felt the patience over generations, before some I lesser
This was for the players in the back with the show. Got your neck iced out, hot and insecurities. Hitting on these hoes with the gold, your priority. Got your presidential distance, sweet to your authority. I'ma run the road without a roll, you're a chain. I know my flow strong when I'm rolling to the bank. I'ma run the game, I'ma run the game, I'ma run the game.
Tell me why they say they stay, then they always go. Still I'm hoping you beside me when it's time to blow. I'm on my own, pray my cynicism don't find a home. So when you jump into conclusions, yo Geronimo, you might end up on your own. It's been a minute since I tried to mend a friendship. We don't gotta be fucking if both be benefiting. But if you ask me, I'ma bend it, hit it, end of sentence. Pray that you don't hit me and get offended, we're reminiscing. I'ma get the dome run, fuck that emotional junk, yeah. Don't look at me like I'm a copy of that Louis Vuitton, no. Am I a sinner to mention my inner condition and deepest desires. You gotta bring it and figure out children and bring up some whole new life. I'ma just throw these lies under the rug and over my eyes, feeding me slugs for bullets of love, but the gun's not loaded right. I'm borderline, not commitment been normalized. Melted patience over generations, been forced by us to break
This
over
one's for the
ties.
players in the back with the shouting. Got your neck iced out, hiding insecurities. Hitting on these hoes with the goals, your priority. But your presidential doesn't speak to your authority. I'ma run the road without a rollie or a chain. I know my flow's strong when I'm rolling to the bank. I'ma run the game, I'ma run the game, I'ma run the game. Put me down, bring me up. Lone wolf in these streets and I don't give a. Call me Kuma, bitches racist. Light up in the room, leave you fooled by faded.
I'm gonna break a bone, I'm gonna break a bone. I've been thinking wrong, shit my conscience can't condone. Yeah, cracker blokes, why you cracking jokes? I'm at your folks, packing dope, slam the dope. I am the manifestation of having no patience, hope. In the back and I'm waiting to flatten your face and I'll have no mo. His man don't wanna talk, man don't wanna talk.
Ratting in the dark, phantom of the ops.
Bitch, I'm Ansari, hustle Minaj, hustling hard. Don't play the lousy, I'm sorry, I fuck with your card. You terrible fam, I don't care if you rap, I don't fuck with the bars. Wanna be a black offspring, but still don't fuck with the march. What's up with that? I'ma bust right back. Retaliation, we tan your face, this your color bath. Ready to die? Front to back. Got the T.I. with the B.I. Now we fucking at.
All these motherfuckers, 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 all these.
Put me down, bring me up. Lone wolf in these streets and I don't give a. Call me Kuma, bitches racist. Light up in the room, leave you fooled by
I like my
faded.
curry with the side of butter now, bitch. Ain't got no worries but the claim that I'm a convict. Yeah, I've been away, been doing 300 records a day. But when you hearing the buzz from your record, so all you can think is Guantanamo Bay.
No, I won't give you validation for fragility. Whoa, I've been running this same race since I was mini-me. Damn, I can probably give you power for that whackness. Damn. But this the 6, I check the hour and you're back, bitch. I've been living in culture of riches and multiple bitches. They back up the petrol. I'm here is the witness of variable sickness. My heritage is the shit to be hitting with imminent. It's the threat of them appearing to stick my revisit it now. I'm pausing the scene and I'm looking around, looking right now at
All these motherfuckers, 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 all these.
John, eh? More like Ram Krishna. Yeah, right, buddy, like your name is John.
Put me down, bring me up. Don't go fit these streets and I don't give a. Call me Kuma, bitches racist. Light up in the room, leave you fooled by faded.
Kind of took me being confident in myself.
Layers and levels and just adding 5%. that in an hour. Holy crap.
Hey, AP, do you like turtles?
Yeah, like the chocolate, right?
Oh, sorry, we just had to start with the... Oh, we're live. Oh, sorry. Hey, awkward intro here. Welcome to episode 6 of the Keralanka Show. That's our brand, sorry. Welcome, everybody. We're just coming back from a really dope brunch today, and we have a really dope guest, but... by the way, I'm Rohan.
And I'm DJ AP.
And we're butchering this already. Amazing. And before
I haven't zoned out yet.
Not yet. And before we dive into today's amazing episode, we just want to spend some time talking about what exactly this show is and the foundations and the drivers behind why we started it for anyone who's tuning in for the first time. So some of you might be familiar with the concept of intersectionality. It's the idea that people of different backgrounds, genders, ethnicities, etc. need to work together in order to achieve a common goal.
So in this show, I almost zoned out there, but good thing I caught myself. So on this show, we wanted to explore the question of what if we applied intersectionality to the world of art?
So over the next few weeks, we have a really dope lineup of artists, creatives, entrepreneurs, etc., who not only apply the concept of intersectionality to their art, but also to their lifestyle.
We interview the guest, create a beat, and we live happily ever after.
Oh, what a great intro. Okay, so without further ado, we'd like to introduce our guest this week. She's an incredible, powerful advocate for community, especially in the Toronto community. I had like 10 people message me like, oh my God, I can't believe you got her. She's an amazing DJ, journalist, label manager. Keep going with the drum roll. And most importantly, community advocate. Can we please make some noise for JAYEMKAYEM? Cheyenne, air horns. Air horns. Cheyenne, what the hell?
There we go.
There we
go.
How you doing?
I'm great.
Josephine?
Thank you so much for that amazing intro.
Yeah,
we try our best.
Totally not scripted at all. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. This is awesome. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and we're very happy to have you here. Like,
Yeah.
There's been so many people who are just like, oh my God, Josephine is so dope. I can't wait for this conversation. Shout out to anyone
That's
who's tuning in
dope.
right now.
Thank
Shout
you
out to
guys.
Mimi. Who chatted
Yes,
with
your
us.
checks are all in the mail.
Your checks. Nice. There we go. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself? Just a quick intro for anyone who might not know who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Josephine Cruz. Some people know me as JAYEMKAYEM. I think you kind of touched on everything that I'm into, but I'm basically a miscellaneous music and media person.
Love it. That's
And
awesome.
I try to do a bunch of different things that involve music and media and community. I've always really been into I've always been a very social person, so just involving as many people as I can with my work and my passions has always been something I just did naturally. So
Yeah, for sure. And you can tell when you just talk to the people who know you, and the way they describe your energy is totally in line with having met you for the first time. It's totally in line with what everyone says about you.
Oh, so that's good. The brand is strong.
The brand is very strong. Yeah, dope. So before we keep it going, we just want to explain how this show works. So this is how it goes down on the Keralanka Show. So firstly, AP and I are going to be rotating here at the interview station, asking Josephine different questions. After that, while one of us is here asking her a question, the other one of us is actually going to be at the creative station building a beat in real time based off her answers. And finally, at the end, stay tuned. We're going to show her the beat that represents her story and her answers and her journey. And then we all live happily ever after.
Amazing.
Cool. So without further ado, we like to jump right into it and skip the small talk and get right to the depth of the Keralanka Show.
All right, I'm ready.
Josephine, what does intersectionality mean to you?
I mean, it's a big question, but if you think about an intersection, it's literally like a place where two paths meet. So I think that what it means to me is just kind of like being able to look at the world from many different perspectives and not only see those perspectives, but also apply them into the way that you live. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and also being someone of mixed race background, that's been a big thing for me throughout my life too, a melding of different cultures, different kind of values. Yeah.
Yeah, how has or has not how has empathy like played a role in regards to your own journey with intersectionality and exploring it as a concept?
Empathy? I mean, I think I always say that if the world could be a more empathetic place, like we'd be much better off. I'm like lucky that I was kind of like taught from like a pretty young age by my parents that you should always try to like put yourself in other people's shoes before kind of like making a judgment. And that's, yeah, really. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Oh yeah, I think you're fine.
Okay,
You're
good.
fine.
So,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Don't pay attention to Danny.
I've been told I don't have like a very like bassy voice, so sometimes it doesn't like pick up properly.
You turn up the low end on her voice, just distort it a little bit.
But yeah, like empathy, I think it's a very like relevant concept, especially to like the modern era where, you know, the world is getting smaller and people are getting closer together, and you really have to try to just appreciate different perspectives and different backgrounds and different ideas as much as you can.
Totally. And not to ruin our questions later on, but I think it's like within the vertical that you've explored, which is obviously music, I think it sort of shows in the breadth of music that you champion. There's like so many different genres, but along with those genres, there's so many like cultural nuances.
Yeah.
With like the reason as to why each of those genres are merging, like grime, for instance, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like how's it been sort of exploring that within the realm of music specifically?
I think, so I really attribute like the internet with like being that gateway for me. I grew up in Calgary, which is like not a small town, but it's a small city. And, you know, growing up culturally, there wasn't a lot of like variation in like music and things like that you were exposed to. It was just like basically like what was on the radio, which was a lot of country music.
Okay.
And then
Cowtown.
But as soon as like you started having more like access to information, first through things like, you know, before the internet was really ubiquitous, like magazines and things like that. But then as soon as like, you know, we started having access to like basically the world through online, that's when I really started seeing kind of like all these different cities that kind of had their own kind of like thing going on, different countries, different subcultures and things like that. And that's really when I started getting interested in kind of like art that was being made in other places by people with completely different backgrounds than me, you know?
Yeah, right.
And I just thought that was really cool. It's kind of like, I've always been into like traveling. Like I traveled quite a lot when I was younger. My mom was like a stay-at-home mom, so it was really nice that she got to like spend a lot of time with us when we were younger, like expose us to a lot of different things, taking us to like museums and like art exhibits and stuff like that. And for me, music is like my grown-up like version of like going to a museum. And kind of like seeing how someone lives or their experiences through
you're
music.
Just exposed to like so many different perspectives and just like different styles, different sounds.
Yeah.
Like just different cultures overall, right?
Yeah, and something that like is so different to like how I might have grown up, but I can still definitely like appreciate it. Like, you know, I don't have the same like life as like a rapper from Atlanta who like grew up selling drugs, but like we might share some similar like
reasons as to why you're doing something.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's so awesome, because I think a lot of people are very close-minded in the sense that it's like it's very shallow, right? It's like, oh, I don't like how that sounds. But dig into like the history
like
and
why
context
does it sound that way?
As to why something sounds that way, and like why that culture or subculture exists in general, especially music. I think is such a mature. It's like it's achieving that next level of like understanding music for what it is.
It's like saying it's corny, right?
It's
Yeah, like even country music, I can appreciate parts of that as well. You know what I mean? Like it's not the music that I would choose to listen to on my own time, but like it's really great storytelling.
Right.
If you've ever listened to a country song, they like do storytelling better than like most people out there. So
listening to a Johnny Cash song for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
So
Dope. Okay, cool. So that's our first question. So now
I feel like that was a lot of questions.
you
It's a multi-part question.
That was our first conversation.
Okay.
There we go. It's conversation. I love it. Shout out to Friday. Great movie. Cool. So we're gonna start this off and send one of us to the creative station.
All
There's
right.
a problem. We don't know who's gonna start it off by being here versus there. So what we have this coin over here. So we're gonna put your coin flipping
Skills to the test.
Oh, it's good because I have long nails, so
Cool.
I can
Perfect.
like.
You want to
usually-
call it AP?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Heads.
It is heads.
It's heads.
Is it? Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's it.
I was like, oh,
I never know.
It's that
'Cause they're
Queen
both
Elizabeth
heads.
or a deer? It's definitely Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, well,
They're both heads. You're right.
Too,
Oh,
right?
technically they're both heads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it
both
was.
heads.
It was the Queen.
Sorry, tangents.
Yeah, we do this a lot.
Sorry, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Oh, we're filming. Hey, no.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna stay here.
Okay,
for the
cool.
First round.
All right, dope. I'm gonna go over there, and I'll see you in 5 minutes.
Okay, sick. Wow, this is fun.
Oh, awesome. We've only just started. I think we should give a shout out to our sound guy, Cheyenne, over there. He's probably the one who's really making it a fun time out here
Making
with
the
those
magic
air
happen.
horns. So, well, when I came into this and I was like doing research on you, and I was like, what can I ask you as the first question, right? And I didn't want to go straight into like DJing, or because I feel like you probably get a lot of questions about DJing. In
Yeah,
interviews,
but
right?
I love DJing.
Oh no,
so.
for sure. Oh, don't worry. There's a question about DJing later on. Just
Okay,
not
cool.
like the usual. But I actually wanted to dive into your writing process.
Okay.
And like what that looks like for you.
Wow. Well, there's not really much of a process. So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because my writing these days is
Turn off the speaker. Oh shit. Yeah, I forgot to do that.
I was like, oh. I'm like talking, I'm like getting so distracted.
There
I'm
we
like,
go.
what was I talking about again?
Right. So
Yeah, we're good.
your writing process.
Oh yes, okay. We're back. I'm back. Yeah, my writing process. I mean, it's kind of something that nowadays, like, because I do so many different things now. Like, I used to definitely be writing was taking up most of my time, and now it's kind of like just a sliver of the time.
Now it's
So
more of like a side thing, would you say?
yeah, it's more of like a side thing. I mean, obviously something that I still like love and care about, but I find that I have to switch so quickly between like tasks nowadays.
Right.
You know, I might like start my day and like do some emails, then go to a meeting, and then maybe have a phone call, and maybe like organize music for a bit, and then have to like jump on writing. So for me, it's just like, I don't know. I don't really have like a process per se. It's just something that I've gotten good at, like jumping into like really
Got it,
fast.
yeah.
You know.
So like, would you like? Do you usually like jump straight into like when you go into like, let's say, writing about a new artist or something?
Yeah.
Like, do you already have an artist in mind, or do you have like maybe a concept that you want to cover, and you look for artists that cover that concept?
Yeah,
or-
how it kind of usually works nowadays is I'll usually know sort of like what I have to write about for like a week. Like I'll kind of like have a schedule and be like,
Okay.
okay, who am I posting about today? You know, what's kind of like on in the calendar. And then what I usually do is if it's like a new artist who I don't know, I'll usually spend like a little bit of time like obviously listening to the music
Yeah,
first
for
and
sure.
foremost
Yeah.
before I read anything about that person
Right,
or
just
before
to see if you vibe with it, right? Like,
yeah, I think that listening to the music is the most important part because like I don't even like look at people's social media or anything before because I think sometimes you can kind of make judgments.
Yeah, you can easily be skewed to like believe something about an artist like just by looking at their socials.
Yeah,
right?
which is like unfortunate. Like
Yeah.
I don't like admitting that I'm like maybe a little bit judgmental, but I think we all
I
are,
feel like
you
we
know.
all- yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, I always try to listen to the music first and foremost. And then I'll usually try to like write a few things down while listening to music, whether it's like certain like kind of like words or maybe things like emotions that
Right, anything
are
that it
evoked.
evokes out of
Yeah.
your-
And then from there I'll go and like check out people's like social media.
Okay.
And then, you know, read any like supporting materials that they might have, like their bio or maybe any like past press. And then from there, I feel pretty like confident that I know kind of like what I'm going to
Okay.
say or how it's going to go.
Okay, that's
So-
dope. That's dope that you said like you like to start with the music, which
Yeah.
like it seems like something obvious, right? But like I
Yeah.
feel like there are definitely like a lot of people who just get intrigued by the socials and like
Oh, for
and
sure.
it's like, oh, let me write about this person, right? But
Yeah.
then like it's dope to see that like it's coming from a genuine place, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of me being a little bit like old school too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been like writing about music since before, Twitter and Instagram definitely were even like around.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely like a secondary part for me in
Right.
it, which is
Yeah.
weird because nowadays there's so much like value placed on social media.
Yeah.
And I think it is like a really like great tool, but you also have to like know that it's really not a true representation.
Yeah, it's just about having that balance, right? Like
Yeah.
like yes, like social media shows us something.
Yeah.
But it's not everything. It's not the
Yeah.
whole picture. It's just a piece of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, if I put everything on my social media, people would be like, this chick is a mess. Like, what a train wreck. No, I'm just joking. My social media is like, I feel it's pretty authentic, actually. Especially like what goes on in my Instagram story is definitely like exactly the person I am.
That's dope.
Super uncurated. Yeah.
So, have you ever explored any other styles or forms of writing, or has it always been like music journalism?
I actually, when I was a lot younger, I wrote more poetry.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, and I was like really into writing poetry as like a young, I guess I would have been like 10, 11, 12 when I really started like doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had like a poem published in like a book
Oh, that's
when I was young. Yeah, I don't know where the book is now. I got to ask
damn.
my mom, but yeah, I don't even know anymore. But it was basically like a kind of like a coffee table style book of like youth poetry. That reminds me, I'll have to dig that up. But yeah, so that
please
was
send
kind of
that
like,
over if
yeah,
you find it,
I was
yeah.
really into writing poetry, and then also really liked writing short stories. So I was doing a lot more kind of like creative writing. Yeah, when I first got into it. And then I went to university and I studied English literature. So I was a really bad student in high school.
Okay.
I think I just like didn't really, the traditional like education system just did not work for me
yeah.
at all. So after high school, I was like, I didn't want to go to university. I was like, I'm fucking done with this. Oh, can I swear? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
I know, but you said your mom's watching, so okay. Fucking awesome. So I took a few years off, and then I went back to school, and at the time I was like not really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I loved like reading and writing. So I was like, I'll study English literature. Perfect. And yeah, so that was good. And I'm actually one of the only like people that I know who's actually super happy with like what I studied in school, and I think it was like very relevant to me. Yeah. And that's really where I started like kind of experimenting with like different styles of writing, because you obviously take a bunch of different writing courses.
Right.
So that's when I first ever learned about like technical writing and like writing for advertising. And that's also when kind of like social media was like sort of on the rise a little bit, like, you know, in like 2008, 2009, when Twitter was like really blowing up and like companies were starting to like use it. And so that's how I got into like writing, doing more like kind of like advertising and like marketing style like writing.
Okay, that's dope.
So I've kind of like done it all really. Like the only thing I really haven't done is more like technical writing like an instruction manual.
Yeah, I don't think that would be as fun.
Yeah, I don't think it's as fun as writing about music. But who knows? Never say never. Maybe I'll like create a product one day and have to like write the instruction manual for it.
Who knows? That would be dope. All right. I hate to cut you off, but
all good.
Gotta get over to the creative station now. Rohan,
make sure it's a banger.
And if you don't play it through the screen.
That was amazing. I was like, this is weird. Like, I was like, I don't think I saw this in the last interviews.
What happened?
When you were playing the thing.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, why aren't...
You were like jamming out.
I was just like,
you were
yeah.
like,
bro, what's that? This never happened.
Okay, you know that clip of Kanye when he's like on the plane and he's sitting in economy class and he's just like
he's literally mixing Tiana Taylor's album on the way to her like listening party.
He's going like this.
Shout out to Kanye.
That was you at that moment. You were just like jamming in your headphones.
Dope. All right, cool. So Just diving.
Okay, wait, I have a question.
What's that?
From an operational standpoint.
Whoa. Okay.
How do you not like ask the same questions? Because you're
So we basically we don't know each other's questions, but we send them to Danny and Cheyenne ahead of time
Oh,
to
okay.
make sure there's no overlap.
got it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's a very intelligent question.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, just as someone who's like kind of from a production background, I'm always like thinking of like those.
That would
things,
suck,
too.
right? If we just asked you like three.
Because
the
like
exact
he's
same-
clearly not listening.
No, I mean sometimes when like the music stops, you can kind of hear murmuring, but you're very focused.
Yeah,
on the beat, so it's
yeah,
like-
for sure.
So I kind of already started my first question, but I want to dive a bit deeper into it.
Yeah.
So we talked about sort of you championing and playing such a wide breadth of music,
Yeah.
from like grime to local hip hop to dancehall, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to. I know you sort of touched on this, but like, what is it that happened during your upbringing and your early years, formative years, that led to this deep and rich understanding of like different segments of culture?
Yeah.
And can you talk to me about how it extends outside of music as well?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I mentioned that like I'm from like a mixed background. Like my
Yep.
dad's Chinese, my mom's from England, and I was really fortunate to like have a lot of exposure to like both of those cultures growing up. I would have liked to have had more exposure even to like my Chinese side because I don't speak Cantonese, which is unfortunate.
Also Chinese and British.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it, cool.
And so, yeah, I was born in England, and then I grew up like in Hong Kong for a period of my childhood, and then would spend like a lot of time in both of those places as a kid. So I think that that's just like, I feel so fortunate to have had that experience, especially living in a place like Hong Kong that is so multicultural. Like people talk about Toronto as being multicultural, and it really is, but Hong Kong is like, I went to an international school, and I remember like one of the big things was that there was people from like who spoke 150 languages in the school or something like
Wait,
that.
sorry, one single person?
No, like just across all the people.
I was like,
That would
fake
be lit
news.
though. But yeah, and that goes to show like the amount of like I was exposed to a lot of different culture, and like all of my friends were like
amazing.
from different backgrounds, and so I was like eating a lot of like different food and like listening to a lot of different music, like even as a kid, and not really like understanding like the impact of that.
Right.
And then again, I mentioned like my mom was really like awesome about like just exposing us to lots of different stuff as kids. And then I moved to Calgary, and
Polar opposite or what?
exact opposite. And I think that that's really when I just always had this desire to like keep learning and keep like looking outward, because I got there and I was like, oh well, this is like different, I don't have that same experience, and I had to like make more of an effort to like find that
Right.
after.
Did
So
that make you like appreciate it more?
yeah, absolutely. And it's funny too, because like some people, like in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, everyone wants to like travel and learn about the world.
Right.
But like some people actually don't really it's not that important to them.
Yeah, it's such a millennial like thing, and like it's like now everyone's posting travel photos, so it's like, oh, everyone loves to travel, but some people have not even been exposed to that.
Yeah,
as
and
a
they
reality.
don't even like
Care.
some people don't even care. Some people want to, but they don't have the access,
Right.
and then some people are just like, oh, it's not a priority.
Right.
And then I also notice like some people too, like they'll go to the same places all the time.
Yeah, you know
Like-
what? I can't lie. Like I'm that guy. Like I love LA. For
Yeah,
instance, but
okay,
I love
LA 's
developing depth with a certain like
Yes,
city, as
yeah.
opposed to like the breadth of like hitting a bunch of places.
And going to the same places
Sure.
each and every time. Yeah. So I'm like, I really have to love a place to go there more than once. Like I would rather go somewhere completely new and
interesting.
like, yeah. I think this is really far from your original question, but
No. That's great, because like talking about travel, like how is that like?
oh yeah,
repeated
we're
exposure?
talking more about like
Culture
different types
and-
of music, right?
Music, culture, like in general, how do you appreciate so many different things at once? Because I feel like so many people pigeonhole their thinking into like, oh, like we've conditioned ourselves to like, even growing up, it's like, what kind of genres of music do you listen to? Oh yeah, man, I love hip hop, I hate country. Like we've sort of pigeonholed ourselves into
Yeah.
like these things because of identity. So it's like, I guess like, how did you break out of that?
Yeah, I think honestly, like, my upbringing, it's really weird because my parents, they're like so different. They're not together anymore.
Okay.
They're like so different. They come from like completely different worlds.
From each other.
From each other. and they even have completely different ideas like about the world, about parenting, and that's why they're like not together anymore, obviously.
Sure.
But I think as from a very early age, I kind of had to like, it's like a very mature thing to like to come to, but I really understood like, oh, like my dad is just this way because of like how he grew up,
Sure.
and like because that's his beliefs, and my mom is just this way because of that. And I was literally like having this kind of thought process as like a very young child.
Conditioning, right?
Yeah. And so I think that just is something that carried with me like throughout my whole life, and the different people I would meet and the different places I would go. I just kind of had that sort of like understanding that like, oh yeah, these people are just this way because
There's a reason as to why people think a certain way.
Yeah. And so I think that's why it's speaking specifically about music, I just feel like that's why I've been able to like appreciate so many different kinds of music for what it is, because I'm just like, okay, this is just like a product of like this environment or this culture, and there's value in all of these things. And like, again, even if it's something that's completely different to my experience, I can still like really appreciate it.
Because typically there's still there's still a pattern in regards to why they're doing it.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Like punk and hip hop they're both protest music.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just different outputs.
Yeah.
Cool.
And also coming to Toronto has been like, you know, I had like a very like worldly view before living here, obviously, but just the access here to different types of music and different types of events, and there's just like more people than in a place like Calgary, and more things going on.
Scale.
So yeah. So I've been here for almost 4 years now, and it's definitely been like I've learned like so much since I've been here about different kinds of music.
Awesome.
Yeah, and even like, you know, music like reggae, dancehall, like in Calgary, there's a lot of immigrants, but a lot of the immigrants are from like South Asia or like African countries. There's not a lot of like Caribbean. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's like all Caribbean. So that's definitely something when I first moved here was like, I was like, oh, I have to like learn this quickly, you know, because it's such a like part of the
culture, the subculture of Toronto.
Yeah.
It's like you go to gigs and stuff and you're like, oh, I need to know.
Yeah. I was like, I need to learn this is so embarrassing, but I was like, I need to learn like
patois.
Well, I'm like, I can't just play like Sean Paul anymore. Like I need to learn
for sure. Oh, that's yeah.
And luckily, like, you know, my that's been really helped by since like Frieza and I have been dating. Like that's his whole background. He's like a reggae dancehall DJ, so he's definitely like helped me with that. Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Dope. Thank you for your very mindful answers. Yes. I will see you in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hey,
cool.
Sorry, Nick. Time's up.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, did I turn on speaker?
Then I realized
Hey,
that
what's
sounds
up?
nothing like the beat, so. This? How's that? All right, so I want to ask you about your transition from coming from Calgary over to Toronto.
Yes.
And so, first of all, what motivated you to make that move coming from? Well,
I mean, I'd been to Toronto a bunch before. My ex, who I was with in Calgary for a very long time, he's actually originally from Brampton. Mm-hmm. So I'd visited
B-town.
B-town, stay down. I'd been here.
There we go. Oh, okay. It's like
delayed reaction there. I'd been here like a bunch, and then even after like he and I had split up, I had been here a bunch of times for like work and stuff like that. And I just like always liked Toronto. Like I'm a big city person because I you know I spent some of my childhood in Hong Kong. Like I've always been drawn to like the big city, and I was just I was working in my marketing job, like my corporate 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of like starting to do more like music and like media stuff on the side. Yeah. But I was really just like ready to like make a fucking go for it. I was like, you know, I'm like getting to like, not like older, but like I was like, you know, I'm like, if not now, like when am I going to do this, you know?
Like, am I going to keep telling myself I'm going to do it? Or
am
I just going to do it? Right?
Totally. And I mean, another thing too is like the timing for me to like come out here was just kind of right in the sense that me and my like ex had split up. I'd moved home to like my mom's house for the first time in like freaking 12 years or whatever. And so I was able to like save some money. So
Right.
even things like that, it just
Yeah.
made sense. I was like, when else would I have like
Right,
money to
everything
relocate?
just, like, seemed to be coming together.
Yeah,
Like-
and it was almost like the decision was being made by some kind of force like outside myself. I know that sounds like really like hippie and kind of out there, but I felt like I was really being pushed.
to like just
To
do
j-
it.
yeah,
Like,
just do
you've been
it.
Thinking about it for this long, just
Yeah.
go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I did. I mean, I kind of made the decision, and then within like 3-4 weeks, like I had packed up my car and I was like driving across the country.
Oh no way! So you drove here?
I drove here. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like quite the road trip.
It was amazing. Honestly, I think if you have the chance to do a long road trip at one time in your life like that, definitely do it. And definitely like, be mindful of the people you do it with, because it's a lot of time.
That's a lot of driving.
Yeah. The person who came with me is a really good friend of mine named Brett. And yeah, him and I just literally drove across the country together. And we stopped in all these like different places along the way. Like we stopped in a small town in North Dakota called Bismarck. That was the first like overnight stop, and that was really hilarious. It was like the night that we stopped there, actually, I'll never forget this, was the night of the Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather fight. Because this town, there was only one place in the whole town that was
Where
like
you could watch
showing it.
Okay.
And it was like, we went,
packed.
it was packed.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
can-
this is crazy.
oh,
It was like a
man.
wing and beer joint, like obviously.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh shit, I guess we have to like, not go in here. So we went back to our hotel, and like both of us are completely clueless when it comes to like how to illegally stream and like bootleg stuff.
Yeah.
We're like, we don't know how to do it. So what we ended up doing was we like FaceTimed a friend, and they like set up like
FaceTime in front of the
yeah. And we watched the Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight like on FaceTime.
That's so
So-
jokes. Oh my god.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't exciting. It just like went to however many rounds. But yeah. So just like stories like that, like
Yeah.
that you get from being like on a road trip. Like, so the trip total, it took us 4 days really to do it. So the first day was like 14 hours of driving. The second day, we were only supposed to drive for 7 hours and then stop in Minneapolis. But we got to Minneapolis. We went to the Mall of America. We're like, this is not exciting. And then we were like so bored in Minneapolis. I'm sorry, Minneapolis. But we were so bored. And we were both also like not that tired. Like I was like, should we just keep driving? He was like, let's drive to Chicago. So that was another like 6-7 hours. And then we got to Chicago. And it was actually sweet because we made such good time. We had 2 days in Chicago instead of 1 day. Yeah, so we like hung out in Chicago, like did some shopping, like did all that stuff. And then the last day we drove 8 hours to Toronto. So when you
Okay.
like break
When
it
you
up
split
like that, it's
like-
not that bad.
It's definitely bearable.
Yeah, and it was like we talked about like literally everything like on that.
Which would have been like really nice, like especially going to a new city, like you're making a big move.
Yeah.
And it's like you just like whatever's on your mind, you just
Totally.
get it off.
Yeah,
right?
we talked about so much like life stuff, and like he was like, when you spend that much time in a car with like one person, like over 30 some hours, like he was like reading a business book, and I was like, you should just read aloud from the book for a bit. He's like, all right. He's just like reading aloud, like, and it was cool. It was very like symbolic time for me because you're kind of making this like pilgrimage almost
Yeah,
to like
yeah.
your new life.
That's so dope.
And yeah, it was
Oh.
pretty like
I like the way you put that. Pilgrimage. I couldn't say it for a while.
yeah, it was cool. It was a cool time. And there's definitely like a moment when, we're driving into the city coming from the west on the 401, and it was just like this crazy, excited, like nervous feeling. And I just remember being like, wow, you really like did it, like
That's
you
such a
like
feeling. Oh man.
you fucking just drove here and now you're here and now you can't go back.
That's so cool,
But it
yeah.
was cool. Yeah. And I'm just so happy I did it. Like, I'm just really grateful for that, how it all transpired. And I'm happy to be here still. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And just like that, another 5-minute round is over.
damn.
A bit too quick. Oh, that one actually felt like so short.
Yeah.
Man, it feels like I just said that. I know the stories. The stories always get you.
Hey, what's up?
Hello again. Hey, what's up? Hello. What's up? Pull it back a little bit. Oh, the bag? Oh, yeah.
And then, underneath.
We're doing live technical difficulties. All right, cool. Oh, damn, bruh. Come on. Danny is fired. All right, we good? Yeah, we're good. It's covering my face. My mom's always like, stop having Mike cover your face.
No.
Goodness. Harshest
Mom wants
critic,
to see.
biggest supporter. Yeah. Cool. So hello again.
Hi.
So I wanna go into a bit of a different topic around.
Okay.
Well, hopefully you guys can just talk about this, but you were working in marketing prior
Yes.
to like diving into. I was talking to Mimi and she was like, "I hate the word freelancing. I'm working for myself." I don't know
Yeah.
if you feel the same way, but
Yeah.
you sort of had this switch from sort of working a 9 to 5 sort of marketing job for an agency into like becoming your own boss full time, and it's been 4 years. Is it?
Yeah, it's been
Congratulations!
almost 4 years.
First
Thank
of all.
you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know I didn't like die yet, so that's awesome. I
Yeah.
paid my rent every month somehow,
That's
so it's a
awesome,
big
yeah.
win.
Yeah, it's empowering, right? It's empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Profitability.
Yeah, it's
so-
been 4 years. That's crazy, actually.
That's insane.
I left my 9 to 5 job in like February of 2015. So.
Damn. Wow, it's been 4 years since 2015.
I
That is
know.
wild. First of all,
Yeah.
wow, because like 2015 doesn't feel like that long
I know.
ago.
I feel like last year.
Yeah, but when you were going through that switch, like,
Yeah.
can you walk me through like just your thinking process at the time, like, and if you're comfortable, like your biggest hopes and fears, sort of making that
Yeah.
transition, because that's a crazy lifestyle switch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest barrier for me, I've always had, aspirations to like be my own boss, even if I didn't vocalize them or share them. It was always kind of in the back of my head, like, I just kind of wanted the freedom to work on things I want and sort of allot my time the way I want. Like working for yourself, you definitely don't have more free time. It's quite the opposite, but at least you can kind of like have ownership and like agency over like what you're doing with your time. And that was
Totally.
really like the attractive thing to me. But I think I just wasn't confident. Even as I was working.
Sorry, when?
Like when I was having these initial thoughts while I was still working in my like 9 to 5 job, like I just think I was like, I didn't believe that I could actually do it. And so, I just continued kind of like working in my corporate job for like a long time. And I was doing stuff on the side. I was doing a little bit of like writing on the side. And then as kind of like, social media really took off, I was doing a little bit of like sort of consulting work for people on that, also on the side. So I had stuff going on, but it's always hard to like make that leap to like leave behind the like
The entire
safety
life.
net, yeah, and just go full tilt with it. But what really like the thing that really pushed me to do it was, so I actually used to be married. I was married for 5 years, and I was with my ex for almost a decade. And he's great. We're still like friends, so it's not awkward or anything. But when him and I broke up, it was really just like, it was such a transformative time. And it was a really like empowering time, because that is basically one of the most like terrifying things you can go through. Like, you're like, holy shit, like my whole life as I knew it is now no longer. And, everything I thought I was like working towards is no longer.
Challenges your truths.
Yeah, it just like totally throws you for a loop. And like that's why like, people talk about like divorce and stuff as being really difficult, and it definitely is. But for me, it was like knowing that I had already like gone through like maybe the hardest thing that I would ever go through. It kind of made me more like fearless in a like weird way.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
awesome,
I was like, okay, like, I don't have my like marriage anymore. We sold our house, all this stuff, and I was like, I made it through that. And like, so what's the worst that can happen if I quit my job?
Totally.
I'm gonna have to get another job.
Yeah, something I heard last week when I went to a workshop by someone named Raz, who like she throws amazing workshops, along with Kay Ray. Actually, they were running that workshop together. Was she mentioned that anxiety is your non-acceptance of the worst case scenario.
Yes.
But once you've like accepted that worst case scenario,
Yeah. There's like there's nothing to be scared of anymore.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was kind of like a really, and again, sometimes people are like, when I tell this story, I can tell they're kind of like, what does your relationship have to do with your career? But again,
What? That's crazy.
intersectionality.
You're one Josephine, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're, a Josephine in a relationship, and then a Josephine who's a DJ, then a Josephine who's a journalist.
Yeah.
Like yes, you're wearing multiple hats, but you're still one product.
Well, yeah, and I think that this like kind of speaks to the whole theme of like intersectionality and like those different kind of things like impacting each other. Is like if I hadn't gone through that, I can say with like 1000% fact, if I hadn't gone through that in my relationship, I would not be like where I am today in my career.
Yeah. And having met so many amazing people and having impacted so many artists in our community and everything.
Yeah, trying to do
try.
that.
No, you're doing it. You're doing it.
So yeah, that was kind of, I think that was the question.
Yeah, for sure. No,
Was it?
no.
Oh yeah, you're talking about how did I
Your hopes and fears.
Oh yeah, so I guess my like, there was, I mean, you always have fear.
Yeah.
I still fear, like, am I going to make enough money? Like, that's the biggest fear. Am I going to make enough money to live? But you know what? I always have somehow. Like,
right.
I might have had months where I didn't have as much money to like do things with, but I always could like pay my bills and like eat and like do all that stuff. And
you hit that minimum foundation, right?
yeah, exactly. And I think there's also like a little bit of fear around like I don't know, failure. Like when I came out here, I was definitely like, oh shit, like I hope I don't like blow it and have to move back, even though that wouldn't be like terrible or anything.
Right.
Like that happens, but like you would definitely feel a little bit disappointed, you know?
Sure.
But really though, like I would always just ask myself, every time I would have these doubts, I would continually ask myself, like, what's the actual worst that could happen?
Typically it's not death.
Yeah.
Like, for the most part, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like my family's not going to be disappointed if I call them and say, hey, I have to come back and live with you.
Right.
They're going to be like super supportive.
Probably
And
happy.
yeah, like at least you tried it, you know? So those were kind of like some of the fears. And in terms of hopes, I mean, I just hoped that I could live, you know, a life that felt true to me because I didn't have that before for so long.
Wow.
So yeah, live an authentic life and just be able to positively impact as many people as possible in the process.
That's awesome, because as you say that, like taking that mask off and like impacting people, like that's the gist of, I think, how other people perceive you. So you can tell
That's
it's
great.
working when other people are sort of...
The brand is...
right.
I was joking. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying... It's like, sometimes like when I say stuff like that, when I'm like, oh, I really want to like have this positive impact, I'm like, that sounds like something that you've been like coached to say, or that's
Sure,
like, you
sure,
know,
sure.
but like I really do
You
like
live it at
yeah,
the
I
end of the day.
genuinely
You
do like try to do that in everything I do. Like I'm like, I've been given like so much. I've definitely had tons of struggle in my life too, but I've been given some amazing opportunities, and I believe in like, you know, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, this notion of like wealth is not how much you can amass, but it's like how much you can share. And I really think
that's beautiful. Okay, dope. Thank you for sharing. Hey, Pete.
No problem.
Your turn. All right. I will see you. Yes. Let's see if he can top that. See you.
Oh, okay.
How's that?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Great.
I'm horrible.
Terrible.
Sucks. No, just kidding. I love life. There we go. All right, so this next question, this is where I dig into the DJing part.
Okay,
But,
let's get it.
I want to get a bit into the depths because I DJ as well, so like I just want to get like
Cool.
your perspectives on a few things.
Yeah, let's nerd out.
So yes. So as a DJ, when it comes to song selection,
Yeah.
what is your philosophy? And by that, what I mean is like there's successful DJs on both ends, but there's DJs who are like, I cater to the crowd and only to the crowd.
Yeah.
And then there's DJs who are more on the end of, I sometimes cater to the crowd, but I like to push what the new sound is.
Yeah.
And I like to, basically, I like to push what the new sound is. And the way I phrase it is like, I want to give the crowd what they didn't know they wanted.
Yeah.
So like, what's your philosophy on that?
So I think like I don't want this to be like a cop out, but I definitely try to do like a good balance of both.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's always important as a DJ to really like diversify the like kinds of gigs that you're doing. You know, like I love to like go and DJ in bars where you're just playing like solely to the crowd.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun, you know? And like I've always made a promise to myself that I'll never play a song that I don't like.
Right.
So even if I'm in a venue, like for instance last weekend I played at the Ballroom. It's like a bowling alley, like it's totally not the type of place that I would normally play, and that type of crowd is like very specific. It's like kind of like a college-y like kind of vibe, and you're definitely got to play like a lot more like top 40 and pop music. But like all the like top 40 and pop that I was playing, it's like I actually like
you like it,
maybe
yeah.
it's like a little bit of a guilty pleasure even, you know. And so I think for the most part I'm probably more of like a crowd pleaser, but then I also definitely try to like, you know, be kind of like the first DJ to play a certain song, or put people on to like a certain song. And you have to do it a bit strategically, you know, like if you're going to play like a brand new like rap tune that no one's going to know yet, you kind of got to like sandwich it in with some other stuff that's more
known.
Yeah, and that will actually like keep people's attention a little bit more, because
then it's like, oh, I've heard this. Oh, but this is new.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Especially.
But
then you bring it back with something that they know again. And
yeah.
It's like, oh, you're basically like playing with their emotions a bit, right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, that's totally it. So that's kind of like my strategy with that. And then, you know, because I like to play so many different kinds of music, I just try to make sure I'm having like lots of different gigs. So sometimes I'll, you know, if we're doing a party that's all UK music, then that's really my time to just like play whatever I want and not really have to think about like catering to like the crowd per se. But again, if it's like an apartment 200 where people, they want to go and hear like the hits,
right,
that's totally fine too.
Cool
you can't like hate on that. That's
it's just
fun.
about having the balance for whatever your balance is, right? Like, it's just like what do you like to do, and like just I guess choosing the gigs, but also I think that's an important point about diversifying the gigs. Yeah, because like especially when like you're starting out as a DJ, it's like, oh, you don't know what gigs you want to do yet, right?
Yeah,
like,
and I always tell like younger DJs like just do a lot of different ones, even if you're a little bit like scared of it, or even if you don't think you can do it. I remember the first time I ever played a night that was all like kind of electronic music, more house music. I was like really nervous because I was like, can I do this? Like I play hip hop. But then it really pushes you to like just expand your repertoire. Yeah. And yeah, I think I'm kind of someone who's known for like my selection. I've been told by like older DJs that I look up to that that's like the thing that they think is my differentiator, which is really cool. And I always just like kept that at the forefront. Like I always just wanted to have like I just always wanted to have like dope selection and really clean mixing. That was like all I really cared about. I was like, I'm not like a technical person. I don't scratch. I don't do tricks. I don't do any of that. I just play dope music and play it like well.
No, that's dope. So. And it's like, it's funny because like I remember my first gig like that was not a club gig, and it was like I was going in and I was like, I said yes because I'm like, but this is something completely different. It was like a school like dance kind of thing, like, but it was like, what was it? Some sort of formal kind of thing, and it was at a hall and everything. For
like high school kind of age?
No, it was for university.
Okay,
actually.
cool.
It was like for like the science faculty.
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, sure, why not? It's something different. But I knew like I usually play hip hop and dancehall. That's like my thing. I was like, oh, I know I can throw some stuff in there, but it's like I know I need to balance with the top 40.
Yeah.
And funny enough, like after that gig was when I felt like the most rewarded.
Yeah,
because I did the same thing of like playing the songs that I genuinely enjoyed.
Yeah.
But not the stuff that like, not every single song on like the Billboard.
Yeah,
you know? Like
you kind of did. You gave it your own like
I gave
flavor.
It my own twist with a few throwbacks, and like, and I just remember the end of that night was like so dope because everyone came up to me and they're like, "You did a really good job," and I'm like, "Okay," because I was kind of scared I was playing too much like trap or something.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah, it is.
Like, am I playing too much hip hop? Like, I love my hip hop, you know?
Definitely, yeah. It's super rewarding, and like, it's funny how you can draw that value out of those kind of like different unexpected experiences.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
Not too long ago, I played a corporate event. I won't say who it was for, but I was the last DJ of the night. There was 3 other DJs, and so by the time I got there, it was like it was a party, but the space it was in was huge, and there was like not that many people there. By the time I got there, I was like, oh God, like, so I got on and I was like, there was literally like in a room that holds probably like, I want to say like 500 or 600 people. There's probably like 80 people there. And I was like, damn, this is going to be one of those nights.
Yeah.
And so I started playing and like, it was kind of like whatever. And then for some reason, I don't know what happened. It's like most people left, but then the 40 people that were there were all like ragers. Yeah. Like they all came right to the front of the stage. And it was like, it ended up being like so fun. And I was like, this was awesome.
It's always the ones you don't expect.
Yeah.
Too, right? It's like, you go to a club and like, oh, I can kill this. But it's always the gigs that it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure I can kill it, but it's like there's this uncertainty going in where it's like, whew.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
My friend Big Jax, who's a really amazing DJ in the city, legendary DJ, him and I were talking yesterday, and he was saying it's kind of almost like it's easy to kill it when there's 500 people. But if there's
Kill
only
it when there's
40
like
people
40, yeah,
and you
that's
can
a
still
different
kill it,
story.
you're like, wow, I did really well. And like, that was just like really dope too, because like the people who hired me for that job after, they were like, yo, like, thank you so much. Like, you could have totally been like bummed out by like the situation. And they're like, but you just went with it and like made it work. And now like 40 people had like a fucking great time at the end of the night. And those 40 people are going to walk away with that experience.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
super dope. And again, 5 minutes is up.
Damn,
Man,
what's going on here?
All right, we're gonna have to extend our rounds the
rolling.
next Keralanka show.
I also just talk a lot, so.
No, but it's like super.
It's just like really good stories.
Yeah, it's good stories.
All the way.
Mans are back. Are you a journalist or something? Like really good at telling stories. Dope. So this is my final round. So,
okay. Well, already?
Yeah, I know. It's almost done.
Okay,
It's
sick.
almost
Yeah.
done. Keralanka show. But no, does AP have one more round? No, this is the.
We got the bonus.
Oh, we got a
Yeah.
surprise for you. We got a bonus round.
Okay.
Actually, no, we told her at brunch. It's not much. Just pretending to be surprised. I appreciate that. But cool. So in talking to some of your friends, weirdly enough, I was just telling her I met a bunch of her friends last night. It was
Yeah,
super
that's weird.
Yeah. Shout outs to Gabe. Shout outs to Mimi, etc., etc. So
Random.
you and your friends have mentioned that your most recent trip to London,
Yes.
like with Frieza, was perspective shifting. And
Very much so.
yeah, and as a result of that trip, you guys started Bear Selections.
Yes.
Right? Which is a record label. Go check that out for sure. You guys have your first release out with Trey Missions.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have a release with Trey Mission that came out in November, and we also just had our second release with a really sick producer from the UK named More Night.
That's dope.
He's amazing, and we have another release. We
Okay.
have releases all year
Bear
already
releases.
planned out.
Okay.
Bear releases.
So it's not BEAR Selections.
No.
I'm kidding.
It's not teddy bears.
It's a Toronto thing. Yeah, it's not Teddy Bear. Teddy Bear Selection. So
yeah.
I want to just talk about that trip and why it pushed you specifically into like diving into the label side of things.
Cool, yeah. So, I mean, whenever you go, like traveling obviously always brings like crazy perspective, but also we were gone for so long. We were there for 4 weeks, which is like a really long time to go somewhere. I've never been anywhere for longer than 3 weeks ever. So I knew that it was...
Actually, weren't you born in the UK? So you were in the UK for more than 3 weeks. Sorry, I got to catch you on that technicality over there.
I appreciate
Good
that.
journalism.
Thanks. Asking the tough questions. Yeah, so we were there for 4 weeks, and it was like, I knew that it was going to be like transformative. At least I hoped for that. I was like, I hope I go there and like gain new perspective.
You put that energy out into the universe.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And especially like, you know, I feel like this is a thing that a lot of people in Toronto experience. Like you kind of get like stuck in your kind of bubble here.
Facts.
And I call Toronto the hamster wheel.
Okay.
Especially as someone like, you know, working for yourself, like it can feel a little bit like you're just like constantly like running and like nothing around, like you're not really paying attention to anything around you.
Sure.
And it's hard to get off the wheel, like, cause you're just like,
because you're in the
stuck.
day to day.
Yeah.
So much. Yeah.
And so, every time I leave like the city and I go to like Calgary or Vancouver or wherever, I get like off the wheel a little bit, and then it's always like a bit of a reset. So I kind of knew going into that 4 week trip, I was like, yeah, this is probably going to be like pretty, I hope it would be transformative
Yeah.
and give me like a real break from the wheel and, you know, kind of put some things in perspective for me and help me see where I want to be like putting my energy and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So I kind of had a hunch going in. And then while we were there, it was just like such a dope time. Like
Right.
it was so fun to like reconnect with friends, with family, kind of get to know the city of London better. Cause like I've only ever been there for the longest I've ever spent there is like a week.
Right.
So when you're really somewhere for that long, and we were staying with one of my cousins who I haven't seen in like probably 15 years.
That's crazy.
And her and I were really close when we were younger. And then we've always kept in touch, but like we haven't seen each other.
But that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And then, yeah, just like getting into like lots of music stuff. Like we DJ'd a little bit out there, but we also just went to a lot of events and like kind of like just checked out what was going on. And we were really inspired by the, you know, ground level grassroots music culture of London. And that includes like a lot of independent record labels, a lot of community radio stations, and yeah. So we just kind of wanted to bring some of that which we were inspired by closer to home. Yeah, and like, you know, again, being like kind of like an analytical person, I was like, well, will it work at home? Like, you know, like you kind of have to like, some things only work in certain like situations with certain context. But then I was like, you know what? It doesn't even matter if it works at home. Like we're going to do it anyways.
I like that. Again, what's the worst case scenario?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like, and I think that things like labels, small labels or like community radio and stuff like that, like they're just so, the intentions of them are like so pure.
Right.
Like they're not driven by like making money or like, you know, like clout or any of that stuff. So I was like, what is the worst that could happen with something that's intentions are so pure? So
because your metric of success is not like profitability or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Exactly. The metric of success is like, you know, impacting people, building a platform for artists to stand on, like using your skills to elevate other people. Like, pretty sure that's all positive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Frieza had the idea for Bear Selection a long time ago. He really wanted to always have his own label. But he's been like building up his other business, which is a recording studio, for the last few years. So it was kind of like on the back burner. And then, yeah, I was just like, you know what, when we get home, like, let's just launch this thing. And like, I'll like come on board, like officially, like, obviously I support him in everything he does, but I was like, let's be partners on this and like hold each other accountable and like,
love it.
Yeah. And so it's cool because like he's got a certain specific set of skills that he brings to the table. And then I bring like a specific set of skills,
You have
and
to
then
have,
together,
like, each like your own unique skill sets that can complement each other, as opposed to like, oh, we both really want to do this. Cool, let's do it.
Definitely. And I think he's really good at like obviously the creative side of things and like the more technical side, like the mixing, mastering, all that stuff. And then like my background's like more like marketing, like project management, like keeping things like on a schedule. So that's how we've been able to like. We decided, again, this is a common theme in my life. It's like I decided to do something, and then like a month later I did it. But we decided
That's a really good theme to.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like it could be good and bad. I think for me it served me well, though. You know, just fortune favors the bold, I think.
Totally.
And
you walk
you just
the walk. I mean,
kind of have to
you
jump
walk the
in.
walk, right?
That's and don't give yourself any time to like doubt yourself
and overthink things. Overthinking is just the worst. Yeah.
So we came back in the middle of September, and then we basically like had our first release at the beginning of November. So there's only like really a month and a half between those two things happening. So
that's crazy. Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so
actually
much.
Getting something off the ground and not
Thanks.
talking about it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that talk.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great. I think I keep
You're
doing
good.
that.
Don't worry, you're good.
It's great to share your, you know, your aspirations and share your plans with some people, because that can hold you accountable. And I think there's value in like vocalizing things.
100%. Oh,
like,
man.
I don't know. I've been trying to explain this concept to people, and I feel like I explain it so bad. But like when I physically say something, I feel like it actually like
happens,
puts it into the universe, and like gives it some type of like something. So I'm really big on like vocalizing, but I think there's also like, you know, you shouldn't like say you're gonna do something and then not do it, because that
For
also
sure,
looks
because
bad.
like for example, like Danny, myself, Cheyenne, and AP, we were like, "Hey, we're gonna get Josephine Cruz on the show," and what?
Sure
It
enough.
happened. So speak it into existence. All right, cool. Well,
Exactly.
congratulations on the label.
Thank you
launching.
so much. Yeah, and we have like
Yeah.
more stuff coming too. Like, yeah, in the near future, there's gonna be.
Other
more
projects.
stuff coming.
Yep, we'll keep it on the down low for now, but
But yeah, you guys will be the first to know.
Let's get it. All right, cool. I'm gonna go finish up the beat, and
Yeah,
AP is gonna
sick.
hit you with that bonus round.
Okay,
cool?
lit,
and then we'll listen to the beat at the end.
I'm so excited.
Stay tuned.
I hope it's a banger.
Hopefully, or it's shit, and we just get roasted by.
Colin D. Colin D. Yeah. Oh, we haven't told about Colin D yet.
Yeah, we'll talk about
All right, get out of here.
All right, don't fuck it up, man. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure it's gonna be a banger. Hopefully.
Oh, woo! Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
All right, so for this final round, we like to flip things around, and we usually I'm going to play a snippet of one of our tracks,
Okay.
and then I'm going to give you a little context behind it,
Okay.
and we'll just have a conversation around it. So, Cheyenne, oh, actually, wait, before you hit play, so this is a snippet of the outro of one of our, actually our latest single called Self Monopoly, available on Spotify, iTunes, and all that stuff. Okay, anyways, hit play. Yeah, yeah. So,
I really like that.
thank you.
I was feeling it.
Thank you.
What's it called again? Sorry.
Self Monopoly.
Self Monopoly.
Available on Spotify, Apple Music. Okay, I'm not doing this again. I do this too much. So basically, in that track, that specific outro, so we had the song, and then Rohan's like, "Yo, okay," sends it over to me. I start mixing. I'm like, I want to do something different for the outro.
Yeah.
So we touched on like bringing new sounds in our last round, but this round I want to touch on old sounds. So what I did there was like, I'm very inspired by like Timbo,
Yeah.
Pharrell.
I had a total Timbo vibe. I was actually.
Dope. Yes. Okay.
was
So
thinking
that outro was totally paying homage to like Timbo and
Yeah.
Pharrell in terms of the sound selection, but the patterning is totally like very Timbo with
Yeah.
a modern twist on it.
Very much so.
And then also paying homage to like just turntablism and scratching.
Cool.
And because
I
I
love
feel
that.
like that's like not in today's music as much as it used
It's
to
really
be. You know?
not. And, like, I
it's
kinda-
so dope.
it's
though.
so
like,
dope.
I miss it, you know?
Like, I mean, even if you like listen to like a lot of old like Primo stuff, like he's like obviously masterful at like integrating those things, but it sounds like so fucking sick when it's done.
Yeah. So like, so my I guess my question for you was like,
Yeah.
Instead of new sounds, like what older sounds, whatever that means, would you like to see have a comeback in today's music with like a modern twist on it?
Oh, that's a good question. For one, okay, I like a lot of older music.
Yeah,
so I'm not
same.
from a musical family per se. Like my parents didn't play instruments. My siblings and I did growing up, but my dad really like exposed me to a lot of like the music he would listen to while we were growing up. So a lot of like 80s kind of like pop and R&B, like a lot of like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and all that stuff. So I love like a lot of old music. What genre would be cool? Maybe like Motown kind of era.
Okay.
That might be kind of cool to
Ooh,
like come
that would
back.
be, yeah, that would definitely be dope.
What else? Like, I always thought like I was always really a fan of like the kind of like rap rock like hybrid.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anybody's done it very like well
Yeah.
as of late. Like Kid Rock and all that like
Yeah,
trash.
yeah.
But like if someone could like somehow crack that
Yeah.
would like maybe be kind of cool. Exactly. Yeah, Run DMC era, like Rick Rubin, and that's why
Oh, yeah,
even
Rick
like
Rubin. Oh, man.
you know, like if you look at a song like Jay-Z 99 Problems, that's kind of like the last one I think kind of had that
really
vibe
well
that was done
too.
super well.
Yeah,
I'd like to
well.
see that.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I felt like I was just thinking of questions last night. I'm like, oh, this is not something people usually ask.
No, it's not.
It's always about like, what do you think about the new sound, and like, I'm like, oh, what do you want to see like come back? Right?
Yeah. This is like not really like related to your question, but I just want to say that this is really cool. Like what Frank Dukes has done in terms of like creating,
He's a dope producer,
yeah, and he kind of created this whole wave of like creating samples that sound like old music, but they're not.
They're not. Yeah. Yeah.
That
like, he just
to me
adds,
is like
a-
mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he like creates samples that would sound like something from like an old record, but it's something
But it's actually
original
not
and
sampled
new.
at all. It's just like
Yeah.
he made it and like modified it. Just to
That
make it
is
sound
like
that way.
mind blowing to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That stuff's
whoa.
dope.
Mark Ronson. That's something very similar.
Oh yeah, Mark Ronson's dope too. Very very
Yeah,
talented.
something I've actually been exploring. So like,
But yeah, turntablism though, I'm glad you brought that up because like I'm not a turntablist, but
I'm
that's
not either,
who
like-
I like kind of like I want to say grew up, but not grew up as a child. I grew up as an adult around like turntablism because
Yeah.
my ex who I spoke of earlier, he's like a really dope turntablist.
Okay, that's dope.
And so that was kind of like the world of DJing that I was really exposed to, and like it's such a like dope craft
yeah,
and
it's
like
such a dope art form. Like,
yeah, and I feel like people, it just doesn't have the like exposure, and you know, people don't know that it's a thing. But when you show people like scratching, even they're like,
they're just like
"This is
mind
dope."
blowing. Like
yeah.
I think my first exposure to DJing, like as a kid, was probably like seeing like these scratching videos.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was never like I'm gonna be a DJ, but I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, you just doing that, and it's like, you know,
Yeah.
like that was literally my impression as a kid.
I would like to see that come back. Like
Yeah.
maybe the role of the DJ.
In like modern tracks.
Yeah.
Right? Like yeah, just like scratching on top of it or just
Yeah, and you can do it in like really like subtle ways too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be some like
Yeah,
crazy
exactly.
offensive like scratch fucking section of a song.
exactly.
So
But just like blending it in a way that's like very pleasing
Yeah.
to most listeners, you know? Like
one of the like more recent, and I mean it's not even recent at all now, but like there was a song like a Kanye West song with Kid Cudi, I think it's called like Make Her Say.
oh yes,
Is
yes.
that-
Oh
yeah, there is a little bit of scratching in
Yeah.
that, and it's actually A-Track who's doing the
A-Track
scratching.
is so dope. Oh my god. He's like went from hip hop to like
Yeah.
now like the electronic thing, and he's just killing it.
Yeah.
Like, and his turntablism
Oh, amazing. That song is one that like for the people watching, if you want to kind of know what I'm talking about, like how to integrate those pieces together, it's very successfully done.
Oh man, okay. This conversation has been. There's so much stuff I want to keep talking about.
Yo, we should do like a DJ specific like one of these,
Oh,
and we'll
I'm
just talk about
so
DJing. I could talk about DJing
So-
forever.
yo,
Yeah.
All right, but
Put it out there.
unfortunately, the time for the round is over.
Damn, yo.
But yes, the beat is on its way.
No, I'm
but
nervous.
First, we'd like to give you a bit of time to just talk about any upcoming projects or anything you just want to put out there. for
Yeah,
people to know about.
I mean, we already talked about Bear Selection, which is my label that I run with Frieza Chin, and that's we have a lot coming down the pipe for that. We have an event actually next month. It's our first time bringing a artist from overseas. We're bringing a really dope DJ named Ahada Dream from the UK. He's super dope. So that's February 15th at So Food Club. And so follow Bear Selection, follow me, follow Frieza. Yes. We have a new project launching like very soon that I can't talk about right now, but I'm really excited to tell everybody. And then also, who else do I want to big up? I just want to shout out Mimi and Leanne, and they're actually doing like some dope stuff. They're making these like super cute little pins now.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to like shout out people who I want to plug their stuff. It's like not even about me. It's just about them. But yeah. Mimi and Leanne. Who else? Yeah. All of the homies in Toronto grinding it out, doing the damn thing,
homies.
you know? And thank you guys. I want to shout out you
problem.
guys
No,
because
thank you
this
for-
was really
thank you for
awesome.
coming
And Yeah, I just
And,
fuck with what you guys are doing. Like, we need more stuff like this in Toronto. And this kind of goes back to like what I was saying before about like grassroots, ground level, like stuff like this. It's really important to do.
Thank you. Means
Yeah.
a lot, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Give us just 10 seconds to quickly set up this mic. Oh, we already did.
Oh, we
man.
already did?
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
Yeah.
Look how into the beat he was. Silly guy. Audio off real quick. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like over here.
This is where I spit bars over the beat.
Oh, you down?
Okay, wait, can we
Trying to run that
on
flex?
for that? So
Yeah.
they can hear what she just said.
Because now you have to do it.
Imagine I did though. Imagine
That'd be
I pre-written like some.
Yo, that'd be
sick
fire.
shit.
What if it's not to the BPM?
For all we knew, you just
Uh.
like pulled it out of your head right now. I was like, oh my god. Cool. Can you like make the lighting a bit less direct? Like,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, holy fam.
Yeah. Whoa, man.
Yeah, it's like when the
Barely.
lights come out at the end of the bar, you're like.
Yeah, like, it's like, do you have a stank face on, or is it just the lighting, you know?
It should be good.
Alright, cool, yeah, we good.
The lighting should be good on camera, right? Yeah, we're good. Yeah,
Just
cool.
stand over his
Fan audio. It's on?
Yeah, and when we explain, let's switch out.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Is the audio on?
Yeah.
Oh! So we're on.
We don't, we've been on. Awkward outros are our thing too. Alright, dope. So thank you, Josephine, for sharing your story, and we've put together something that we believe, like our interpretation of your journey. So we'll take a listen first, and then AP and I will break down where we were coming from with why we added certain elements to the beat, and then we all live happily ever after. Cool.
Sweet.
Let's do it.
When music sounds and changes though.
Just do it, alright?
That was amazing.
All right, so
oh
thank
my
you.
gosh, thank you
Thank
so much.
Yeah,
I
no,
love it.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Especially the end.
yeah.
That's
Shout
like
out-
what I hear before I fall asleep at night.
Just do it! Love it. Dope. All right, cool. So appreciate it, especially coming from an esteemed DJ as yourself. Appreciate it. Cool. So should I start?
Yeah,
You want me to start?
yeah.
All right, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
you want to kick
All right,
me
man,
out
you'll be
with
back.
that?
All right, dope. Let's pull this closer to me. All right, cool. Oh man, there's so many things. So the first thing we talked about you can stand here. So the first thing we talked about was intersectionality and sort of this like looking at the world from many perspectives. So I wanted to represent sort of this juxtaposition of like just different elements. So we have this sort of you have this very popish kind of like vocal sample, but then also with this very dissonant sort of bass kind of thing. This was actually, yeah, ambient sound. This is what it originally was. But what I did was I sound shifted it and pitched it up 12, and then we also had this sound later, which originally is sort of a bass instrument, but I actually pitched that up. And what I wanted to do was take something pitched up and pitched down and do the vice versa for the other element, just to represent those different perspectives, like how you can view the same thing from a different lens and like almost switch positions, all while having this sort of popish element there at the same time. And then AP added this, which I don't know what this means, so he'll explain that. Then we mentioned... You mentioned like moving to Toronto and having this like dance hall and basically not having to dig deeper into the culture and like not basically not having to just play Sean Paul at parties. And I thought like we also talked a lot about reflection and just looking back and like self-reflection a lot. So what I did was I reversed, aka looking back at something, reversed this sort of element, which is like a steel drum, which is a very like dance hall-y kind of element. It's just like a loop.
Yeah.
But then I sort of reversed it to have that effect, along with the drums that AP added. Dope. What else?
Love that.
Yeah, and then you said something during the second round. You said, "Oh, it throws you for a loop," which I found really interesting. When you're sort of like going through changes. Yeah, it throws you for a loop. So I added a loop in. And just stuttered that before going into this section, right? And that comes in twice actually. That loop represents like when you sort of get off the wheel and you enter sort of a new position in your life. And then when you did go from like when you did move to Toronto, there's obviously that comfort of like, yo, I'm fearless. But even when you're fearless, there's sort of the uncomfortability of, you know, these dissonant sounds right here basically represent, like, even when you're fearless, you can still feel uncomfortable and like not settled in a certain place. But the thing is, you still do it and you still have confidence in yourself, which is what this sort of distorted 808 represents too. Cool. Yeah. And then AP added like, I'll let AP explain it, but he added like a little, I think, city traffic, which I would assume represents a road trip. I might be wrong. But I added this like plane over here to represent your trip to London as another like form of like going off the wheel, and then sort of the pilot at the end. And finally, hey, just fucking do it. Because that's what we talked about in our last round. Walk the walk and do it. Vocalize it, right? Yeah. Dope. All right, so that's all of my. That's all of me. Yeah, AP.
All right, so when I got here, we were talking about your road trip. Actually, no. Before that, we talked about how you explored different kinds of writing styles.
Yeah.
And you went into how you used to do poetry. So I was trying to find like some sort of snap thing, but I couldn't find what I was looking for. So I just added like a.
Yeah.
Just like a snap, like along with the stuff he added on, and then I added this like,
when
loop.
music sounds and changes stuff.
Sounds very poetic.
Yeah.
And something about music and changes. So you know,
Yeah.
which goes really well
Great
into
find.
I
How
know.
do you have that?
Our sponsor.
shout out to
No,
Splice.
Splice is great.
Sponsor us, Splice. Sponsor us,
Please
Splice.
sponsor. All right, and then that went really well into the part Rohan added, where he reversed the.
Right.
So when I first came here, I heard that, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds like time is passing by."
Yeah.
And so to me, it was like this is a road trip, which is crazy because
Oh,
like
shit.
he was also wanting to signify travel and
Yeah.
stuff. So I'm like, "Oh, this sounds like a road trip. Like this is the traveling portion of your life," and then into the busy city, or like I had the soundscape in the background, just like traffic and. So then together that came together.
Wow. I have goosebumps.
Oh, that's dope.
I'm just like remembering like.
The interview.
Yeah.
Just like and then the end of this loop, I found a part where it's just like sounded like a riser.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, and then.
I didn't even take that in.
Yeah, no. Oh man, did you get a great face?
Yeah.
Then this next part, I didn't add anything there. That was mostly row. Trying to figure out what else did I add. Oh, right. And then there's one more part I added. Just at the end, Rohan had this piano loop. Where is that piano loop? So it was just this piano loop going, and I just wanted to use that section to kind of represent. This is crazy because we actually thought the same thing. This section to me was like representing like being comfortable, like a bit more comfortable in the city life, and then also just I know you're a big fan of dancehall, so
Yeah. It's like now I got more than Sean Paul. Okay?
I love it.
and then I just added a bass on top of that too. You know.
Wow.
Oh, that's very. Oh, that rhythm is very.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah.
Amazing.
Can you just run the Just Do It Again just one more time?
Oh, yeah,
The
for
people
sure,
at
for
home, vocalize it.
Yo, we need on a soundboard.
Speak that shit into existence.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Dope.
Urgency there is
Yeah.
like
The urgency. He's Shia LaBeouf is cheesed. Oh my
If you go
god.
through it, he sounds like he's gonna kill
That's literally what I heard when you said like vocalizing. I was like, yeah, I'm ripping this video off YouTube and throwing it on. Yeah, all right, dope. So that is our interpretation of your story. Thank you so much for sharing and just sharing so many intimate details and like being open with us. Even though we literally just met this morning.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Appreciate your support for the show. You can find you JAYEMKAYEM on
on everything.
yeah. So Danny's gonna put up the socials right here, but yeah, on everything, right? Cool. Check her SoundCloud out too. Possibly some music coming out, maybe. Who knows?
Yes, I
Possibly.
will put music out this year. I'm
Okay.
putting that out there.
Dope. Okay.
I don't know when or what, but I will.
But
put
you will
something
do
out.
it.
I will do
You'll
it.
just
do
do
it.
it. Ah, there we go. Dope. And before we sign off on today's episode of the Keralanka Show, we have two questions for you. So first of all, who is someone that you don't know personally that you think would be a dope guest on the Keralanka Show?
Oh wow!
Just
I mean,
step
that's
up to
hard.
the
I know a lot of people.
People that you don't know. Yes.
Like that you'd want
That
to
I
see.
that I
Like
want
you
to
just
see
know
on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you're a fan of. Or
In Toronto, obviously, unless
Sure.
they're
Whatever works.
I would like to see. Okay, I need to think about that. What's the next question? Sorry.
Okay.
Oh shoot, it's kind of related.
Oh, okay.
Who's someone you know that you think would be a dope guest in the Keralanka Show?
Okay, so I think that you should have my partner Frieza on the show.
Okay.
He's someone that I know. Someone that I don't know?
Shout out to
Oh my god,
Frieza.
that's really hard. I don't know.
I would love. The thing is, I'd love to have Frieza on the show, but I'm a Saiyan, right? And he kind of wiped out my whole race.
So it's a beef tape.
It's a beef tape.
I feel like you could make a dope song out of
Yeah.
that. Some fight music.
Yeah, some fight music.
Man, I don't know. It's hard for me. I can think of a lot of people I know, but I don't know about anyone I don't know.
Cool.
I might have
It's
to
all-
get back
no,
to you on that.
No pressure. Get back to us. And,
Yeah.
yeah, all good. But yeah, like I said, thank you so much for sharing your story. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
You can
thank
find
you
her
so
on.
much.
Yeah.
This was like so awesome.
This
So
is
fun.
dope, and we appreciate you always championing people. Everyone I've spoken to has been like, "Yo, Josephine gets me gigs and like helps me navigate through Toronto and everything." So
That
your
makes me really
impact
happy.
is happening. The brand is working.
Thank
So
you so
keep doing what you do. Find her JAYEMKAYEM on all socials. Find us on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, etc., etc. Keralanka. This has been the Keralanka Show. We're corny as fuck, but the music bangs. We'll see y'all next week. All right. All right. Dope.